Good morning from sunny Kailua. I wanted to talk to you guys today about my 5 favorite herbs to grow in your home garden. They're really great herbs to grow. They're useful in any kind of dish. They will make your dishes taste better, and it's actually cheaper to grow herbs in your garden than to go in to buy them in the supermarket these days. A small package of herbs in the supermarket can run you $3.99 for like 1 ounce of herbs. You can get an entire seed packet of herb seeds for under $3.99. Plant them yourself, and then within 3 to 6 months, you will have plenty of herbs to use. And the best way to keep your herbs growing, especially basil, is to deadhead the flowers off the top of the basil as it grows. You can let some of the flowers grow because it'll attract bees and you want bees in your garden, but most of the flowers you can just pick off and just throw them in your compost pile. Up next, I'm going to show you my top 5 herbs that I love to grow in my garden. The first herb that I really love to grow, not only because it's a delicious herb, but also it's beautiful, is lemongrass. As you can see here, I have this giant pot of lemongrass that I've grown from just one lemongrass stalk. Lemongrass requires a lot of water and a pretty big pot. So you can see this pot. I'd say this is about a 10 to 15 gallon pot. And you could plant the lemongrass in this pot and one stem, and it grows outwards. So you start in the middle with one stem, and then it'll grow out around, and it'll just keep growing. To harvest the lemongrass, you want to just go down to the bottom of the pot, like right here, and you kind of just twist and pull, and there you have your lemon stalk, your lemongrass stalk. You want to remove the brown parts at the bottom and cut the top green parts off at the top. And then you could use the big fleshy bulb that's underneath this brown skin here for flavoring teas and soups and stews and marinating with it. It's a really good aromatic flavor for any kind of meat or vegetable dish. The second herb I love to grow in my garden is basil. This is an Italian basil. It's not doing so well at the moment. I was away on vacation for 6 weeks and I wasn't able to attend to this plant as much as I wanted to. But basil is great because it's really flavorful, it's aromatic. You can add it to so many different dishes. It's also wonderful because it's a bug repellent in the garden. So if you plant tomato and basil together, usually you won't have problems with your tomatoes. And the third thing about planting basil in your garden is that it attracts bees. Lots of bees. I always say bees love basil. And this one's not flowering at the moment, but here at the top you can see it's starting to form a bloom. So it'll start forming blooms right in the middle of these places here. You can see one starting right there. So it's a really great herb in the garden, and it's useful in the kitchen as well as in the medicine cabinet. My third favorite herb to grow in the garden is oregano. Now, as you can see, this oregano has gone quite wild. I started with a very small piece, probably maybe this big, and I put it in this bed. And it loves this bed, and it has taken over. It has gone all the way over there to that end, and it's climbed all the way down to the end, kind of taking over the parsley down at the end. So I'm gonna have to trim it back from there so I can keep the parsley growing. But this is a really great herb to use in not only cooking, but medicinally. It's really good if you have a bad cold. You can juice it. And the essential oils within the plant will help you to get over the cold faster. It's also really good flavoring in spaghetti and chilies and Mexican dishes. It's just a very useful, versatile herb in your garden and in your home. My fourth favorite herb to grow in the garden is sage. This is a different kind of sage. There's all different kinds of sages. I want to say there's at least 75 different varieties of sages in the world, and they're all related to the mint family. But sage is great in stews, meat dishes. It has a really strong flavor, so you don't want to use a lot of sage. You want to maybe use a couple of leaves. And this is another one to grow in the garden that's super easy. As long as you keep pruning it or cutting it back, and this is what I mean. So you just kind of like take the tip off like that. You could use that, or you can compost it if you don't need it at the moment. And then as you keep doing that, it'll form 2 or 3 more stems from that, and it'll just keep branching out, kind of like I have growing here. This started as one piece. I cut it up, and it's gone 3 or 4 different ways. It's also really good to use as, if you're spiritual and you want to clean your house, you can dry these leaves and then burn them or smudge them and then clear your house of negative energy or spirits. It's just another way you could use herbs in the garden. And the last herb that I really love to use in the garden is called Cuban oregano, or it has several different scientific names as well because they're not really sure on which one it is. So this one's called Cuban oregano. It's also called Mexican mint. It's part of the spur flower family, and it's a great addition for me to add to spaghetti, stews, soups, marinades. It's a really great herb. I just love it. And I've been growing Cuban oregano since I moved to Hawaii in 2009. And this is one of the original pieces of the plant that grew into this large array here of Cuban oregano. Another wonderful thing about this is it contains thymol, which is this great essential oil for helping to break up mucus in your chest and in your lungs. So if you're sick and you really want to have a good remedy for breaking up that cough and that congestion, is you just take a whole bunch of this and juice it and then drink the straight juice. You could add a little honey or a little sugar to make it more flavorful, but it'd be better if you just took it full strength, and that will help with your cold. It's a really great family of plants, and I would recommend growing this one as it's the easiest to grow out of the herbs that I just mentioned. I hope everybody is having a wonderful day, and join me in my next video for the next exciting plant in my garden.